Good morning, everyone. June 21st, 2020, and it is Father's Day. So hopefully everyone out there has a fantastic Father's Day. And to my father, happy Father's Day. But look, a lot to cover today. It's Sunday. There are no new card releases, obviously, but we're going to have the print run announcements of the Frank Thomas and the Bob Gibson. Where are they going to fall in my range, if they're even going to fall in that range? We're also going to touch back on Mike Trout and Ted Williams. We learned a couple of interesting things with those print runs that happened yesterday. Those fell, of course, outside of my range. And then we're also going to take a look at the market overall, first player pricing, second player pricing. I've gone ahead and updated that again for today. And then we're going to take a look at what can we expect next week from Project 2020. But first, if you're not subscribed and you're a fan of Project 2020, hit that subscribe button. Also, check the comments below for the video library from this week. I put out a video every single day about Project 2020. So check that out. And also for everyone who is subscribed, hit that bell for notifications so you know when I post a video. But now let's get to episode number 32. So what a week it has been. We have seen the lowest print run in some time. We've also seen what I think is going to be the highest print run for some time with the recent Mike Trout announcement. There's been some great cards come out this past week, and there's been some iffy cards come out this week. We're also going to find out in a couple of hours the print run for Ricky Henderson and Bob Gibson. I'm very curious to see where those land, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But when you look back at yesterday, and you go back to my video and I say, look, eBay penetration is dropping down. People are moving over to tops. And look, the past 3 days, it had been that way. And I think a couple of days in the week before that, I should have known that the moment I say that people are going to move over back to eBay to pick up these cards. Now, what does that mean long term? It's too hard to say. It's just two cards. But when you look at a print run of Trout, under 21,000, and then you look at Ted Williams under 10,000, their eBay penetrations were rather high. So when you take a look at the eBay penetration for this week, when you look at Mike Trout and Ted Williams, so Mike Trout 1.81%, and then Ted Williams at 1.41. So number one interesting storyline here with the Mike Trout and the Ted Williams. If you look at Griffey real quick, 1.77%. And Mike Trout 1.81%, which means that there are a lot of casual collectors to me still in this set. And that's collectors. That's not possible resale target or targets for resale. These are people looking to add these cards to their collection. So those two numbers came in very similar, and those two were the highest print run numbers. So when you think of a resale perspective, I still think when these cards are that high, there is very little resale value, because you can see on the numbers here, people are buying these from a collector perspective, and you would expect a Griffey and a Trout collector to be greater than you would, say, a George Brett. And now you might ask yourself, well, Chris, why didn't you just use 1.77 or something around that range to get your Mike Trout? Because this print run came out before Mike Trout was announced. Simply put, when you look back at Mike Trout number 100 with his 74,000 cards printed, Blake Jameson's card, he had an eBay penetration of 1.51%. So that was the number that I was using. I didn't think that he would jump up to 1.8 eBay penetration on this card versus his card 100. I would think Mike Trout, his collector base is very steady. It's the same. I didn't expect to see that big of a jump in that number. So if you do 1.5% on his pre-orders of just under 400, you come out to just over 25,000. So that's why I was at with 25,000. And I also felt there'd be a little extra bump with it being JK5 and everything else going on, but it just didn't materialize. And that eBay number jumped up to 1.8 versus 1.5, and it was not in line with the week. So interesting lesson overall. And then touching on the Ted Williams, which I've said in a couple of videos now, was to me the best card of the two. From a print run perspective, I thought that it was going to ride the coattails of Trout, which it did, but not when Trout only sells 21,000. I really thought that regardless of what Trout does, that he would come out number two, that it'd beat the Griffey, but it did not beat the Griffey. So when people are talking about visuals drive sales, visuals unfortunately do not drive sales, because the Williams was so much better than the Griffey, and it just sold the second most. So there still is a mixture of player, artist in here when it comes to a print run perspective. And then my second takeaway on the Trout is, right now, if everything is equal, this is the new ceiling, 21,000. I don't see how a card gets over 21,000. Now, I do understand Ben Baller is out there telling his podcast listeners to go buy buckets, and I'm talking hundreds of Jeters for a chance to win this necklace that he's putting together, which is probably very valuable. But I really hope people don't go out there and buy 400 Jeters for a chance at a necklace. So we will see where that Jeter comes in. I don't know if it's coming out this week or next week, but that is potentially a number that could go over 21,000, but that's just artificially driven altogether. But I think from a print run perspective right now, when you start thinking about these cards and you think about where we're going to be at through August, I think right now a 21,000 is really the ceiling. I don't think we get above 21,000. And then touching quickly on the Ricky Henderson and the Bob Gibson, I don't think on the website yesterday I put up my 48-hour prediction. So those are the numbers, and I don't think I ever published them. But on a print run perspective, on the Ricky Henderson, he came in at 63 pre-orders after 48 hours, and then Gibson came in at 94. So I still like my ranges here at 5,000 to 8,000 on the Henderson. I think he's very similar to Gooden here from a print run perspective. And then the Gibson, I think, is going to be a little higher. I don't think Gibson gets to 9. Even to me, 8 seems high at the moment, but we'll find out. But I think 7 to maybe a low 8 here is good for Gibson. And then on the Henderson, 6,000, maybe 7,000. To me, if these post 8 and 9, it's very high. And to me, it's not the week we're in right now. My ranges, I'm looking at the middle point to maybe a touch below here on both these cards. But we're going to find out here in a couple of hours. But now let's take a look at first player pricing, second player pricing, and the market overall. So here is the volume chart yesterday when it came to just items sold on eBay for Project 2020. Now, in the moment, this is our lowest volume day since May 10th when we sold 954. Yesterday, we sold only 908 cards. I don't know if this is accurate or not. Terapeak at times could be, they are a little behind at times. So I will go back and check this number tomorrow morning to see if there's any missing sales. But everything I looked at from the first player cards and the second player cards, everything was matching up. So I don't think this is incorrect. So it's really interesting to see how low a volume there was yesterday on eBay. What does that mean? It's really, like I always say, it's really hard to say in the moment. I'm never one to give a proclamation that, oh my gosh, this is what's happening. We're going to use the data from a couple days ago to make an educated decision, going forward. But right now, the price upticked a little bit, but volume dropped down considerably. So when you look at the price uptick, that's because volume dropped. I'm getting very few offers on my cards that are in hand right now. I mean, they're $25. I lowered all my prices to $25. I'm looking right now to move these just sort of to get some cash churning in a sense, but maybe people have, what they need. We're going to find out this week as far as where the volume goes. But right now it's interesting to see that we had our lowest volume week in 5 weeks. But now let's get to some better news and let's look at some first player and second player cards. So here we are. Here's the first player look in from yesterday. And now when you look at the prices from 616 to 619, we have half of those cards doing better than the previous week. So that's a really good sign. So when you think about making an educated decision going forward, when you take a look at this data, you could surmise that you could pick up a few of these cards because the market right now is moving forward. But again, look, there's no proclamations here being made. But look, our best card now is Dwight Gooden, which is the Tyson Beck, which is up to 648.50, which is up 13%. So that's really good to see that card bounce up over 13%. The lowest performer, of course, is the Derek Jeter, which is down 16%. But that's because, in my opinion, look, the Derek Jeter 20 card set is always going to be mass produced. That's really the only card from a first player perspective that is that overproduced. And so I think that card's going to have a tough time moving up in a sense. So we'll see that card always, probably $40, $45 in a sense. But everybody else, I really like their 20 player collections from a value perspective because their first cards are quite valuable in a sense. But now when you look at yesterday, look at Ichiro up one sale, look, $1,200. That's nice. That's good to see considering his last 4 days are 1,100. So 8% up there. You got Ken Griffey, Gibson, both up nearly 50 or both 15% basically. George Brett up 23%. Henderson up 20%. The challenge here again is the volume is low. Sample size is low. So 11030, a lot of single sales. But then you look at the Jeter, 5 sales up to $43. So you can take this data one way and you can look at it the other way too. So that's why you have to use all of your resources before you make a buying decision, because I can show you how the Jeter's losing money over the past 4 days, and also a second later show you that Jeter's gaining money. So always take everything, do your own research before you make a decision. This is just for reference to help everybody understand values. But now let's take a look at second player cards. And before we talk about second player cards, I do want to thank everyone for the suggestion for this, because as I have done more research on these cards, I have grown a strong affection for some of them, and I really like the visuals on these. And I had not really had a frame of reference of these cards before, so thank you for that. Now, when you look at the pricing of these cards, overall, it's a mixture of red and green. There are two things here which I find interesting, and that is the fact that Griffey is up, and so is Ricky Henderson. And I find that interesting because both of those players had cards released this week, and we're going to find out the Henderson print run here shortly. So I'm wondering, as I track this further, do we see card prices go up of cards that are currently released? Now, also, there are cards on here. Mike Trout has a card out this week, and his numbers they're actually probably more negative overall than anything. But that's an interesting correlation to see Griffey and Ricky Henderson, which to me right now really shouldn't have any positive movement other than the fact that they have cards out this week. So as we track this more, we'll figure that out. But this will be on the website, crtsportscards.com. Check that out. This is just more for reference to help you out when you look at making a purchase of the first card or second card, because these are the most expensive cards out there. Now, looking forward to next week, what can we expect? Number one, Monday morning, tomorrow, we are going to have another Grotesque card. So for me personally, I'm excited. Nolan Ryan, Grotesque, it'll be a nice addition to this collection. It'll be a 7th card overall. It'll be very interesting to see where this card lands from a print run perspective. Obviously, it's going to beat the Gooden from last week, but how high will it get? Also, on the print runs, where are they going to land next week? I think, the print runs for today could make this the lowest print run week in 5 weeks now. We're going to see where these numbers land. Are we going to see a further contraction of these print runs if there's no big names released this week? Where are those numbers going to be? And is Topps going to continue this trend of releasing similar cards on the same day? They did it last week and the week before, so we'll find out. But more importantly, as I said about a month ago, to me, July 4th through the end of August is the most difficult time for this set. It's the dog days of summer. There's potential for more eyeballs to be removed from the set. So where does this set go in that time frame? I think that time frame upcoming is going to really set the tone for the back half of the set. So we're about to enter that time frame in a couple of weeks. So it's going to be very interesting to see where this set goes over the next 60 days. But if you're not subscribed to the video series, hit that subscribe button right now. I have a daily video coming at you around Project 2020 and everything you want to know. Any question you have, please reach out to me and let me know. With that, guys, have a fantastic day collecting. Have a great Father's Day. And I'll see you back tomorrow morning for another episode of the Project 2020 show.